So good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the March 18th, 2025 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. Apparently our clergyman hasn't arrived yet, so I think Commissioner Cox is going to fill in for us today.
All righty. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our community. Guide us with wisdom, patience, and integrity as we work together to make decisions that benefit all residents of Calvert County. May our discussions be thoughtful, our actions just, and our hearts open to the needs of those we represent. Grant us the strength to lead with humility, the clarity to seek what is right, and the courage to uphold and trust placed in us. Bless our county, our citizens, and all who dedicate themselves to its well-being. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you, Reverend Cox, for that resounding prayer this morning. Reverend Cox comes to us from the Church of Ducks Unlimited. Amen. We don't need to bring in clergy anymore.
I'm impressed.
Hey, we're good.
I'm
We're set.
impressed too.
Mayor Wall said that.
We have some rowdy individuals in the audience today.
Get them out of here.
Yeah, we're security when you need them. So the next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented? I think there are.
So I move that we approve and adopt the agenda as amended and republished with the additional amendment that we add a closed session item for legal advice.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the amended agenda. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. I have a couple public service announcements today. We do have a new web page that's up that honors African American Civil War soldiers. Department of Planning, Zoning, Historical Preservation, in collaboration with the Calvert Historical Society, launched this new Geographic Information System, GIS, webpage last week. The webpage is dedicated to preserving, honoring, and sharing the history of African American soldiers from Calvert County who served in the United States Colored Troops during the Civil War. The site offers a look-up tool to search for soldiers by name, company, and rank achieved. It also links to a map with locations of cemeteries where, if known, the soldiers are buried. And this new page reinforces the legacy and lasting influence of African Americans on Calvert County's culture and society. And I think we need to thank our own Chris Sperling and the Department of Planning and Zoning, who helped draft and develop the website, and IT for getting it out. So I hear it's had a lot of activity since it was released, so I want to thank everybody involved. I also want to announce that this coming Saturday at the fairgrounds down on 231, there's going to be a farm-to-table breakfast, and the sponsor is the Calvert Historical Society. It starts at 7, runs till 10:30. Attendees can look forward to a delicious breakfast featuring locally sourced meats and produce, planned activities for children, and a display of historic photos offering a glimpse into Calvert's farming heritage. We don't know who's cooking, do we?
Oh, you'll have great cooks for that. That'll be a great breakfast.
Oh, you're not going?
Oh, man.
That's real nice.
Man.
That's real nice. That was a low shot. Cut me off right at the knees. No, the Freeland and Ireland families will be covering
Yeah.
the Historical Society for this one. So
It's a good activity. It's a great fundraiser for the Historical Society. So if you can make it out this Saturday morning from 7 to 10:30 at the fairgrounds for breakfast, please do. And as we normally do, we have an animal from an animal shelter again today. He seems spunky. She.
No jumping. No jumping.
freedom.
Good morning. Brandy here from the animal shelter, the shelter supervisor, and this here is Miss Nina. She has been with us for about 3 weeks. She's about 6 years old, roughly. She came in with her sister. Her sister was adopted on Friday, so she is still waiting on her forever home. Very smart girl. She lived her life outside, but she was working.
Oh, Marty.
Marty is the dog whisperer. Have you noticed that? I mean, everyone that we get.
And they always want to go to
Yes.
him. Yes, yes. By the way, Max is still here for you. Yep, he's still there. He's waiting on you to come in.
That dog's got good taste. He doesn't like lawyers at all. He's
But no, you give her a carpet, this is what she does. I had her in my office this morning and I have a rug in there and that's all she did was just roll around on her back. Yeah, I think she would enjoy very much to find a home inside. Very sweet girl, she needs somewhere she can run and get her energy out. I ran her for about 30 minutes this morning, throwing tennis balls. She loves fetch. Still, she has a ton of energy, so she needs somebody who can work with her.
Cox needs a new retriever.
Look at this.
Put mine down this week.
And today is our last day for the St. Patrick's Day promo. If anybody wants to come in and get your lucky pet. But yeah, so she will be available, free adoptions for the next week. And she will be ready for you if anybody wants to come in. We're also looking for more volunteers to come in. We need some dog walkers and cat cuddlers and donations, all the things. So if you're interested in an animal, dog, cat, roosters, we have tons of roosters too. Guinea pigs, rabbits, just visit the shelter,
Must have
calvertcountyanimalshelter.com.
carpet though. Must have rug.
That dog
Make
needs
sure
some
you have
kids.
carpet in your home if you want to adopt.
Yeah.
Yes, so. All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
So Mayor Benton would probably like you to come turn the roosters loose in North Beach. He likes Key West. He likes Key West a lot.
Pretty
So
fancy ones.
Ah, there you go.
you could have your own Key West, Mayor.
Spruce up the town. Hey, here's your opportunity.
Chesapeake Beach would rather have it. We don't have a boardwalk like he does.
We can hook you up. We would waive adoption fees. Have some roosters run around the town of North Beach. So that concludes public service announcements. The next item on the agenda is proclamation, and it's National Ag Week.
So it's your annual proclamation.
It's the only proclamation I do all year long.
Correct.
I think it's for Ag Week. So I think we have some visitors in the audience, and Caroline's going to come up and kick us off.
Yes, good morning. I'm Caroline Trosbach, the Agricultural Development Specialist with Calvert County Government's Department of Economic Development. Today and always, we thank all growers and landowners of Calvert County farms for a steady food supply, providing a diversified economy and a heritage of hard work. We appreciate the fresh fruits, vegetables, aquaculture, wild harvested seafood, grain, meat, dairy, wine, beer, flowers, timber, and other value-added products that are available here due to growers' knowledge and efforts. We appreciate organizations such as Soil Conservation, University of Maryland Extension, Watermen's Association, Curriculum for Agricultural Science Education, and Farm Bureau, among others, for the consistent agricultural education and support they provide. We sincerely appreciate this opportunity to show our appreciation for agriculture today and every day. This week is also Maryland's Ag Literacy Week. We thank the commissioners and the Future Farmers of America members for reading this year's book titled The Soil in Jackie's Garden. We also thank the students, teachers, and principals for welcoming us and their willingness to learn more about agriculture. I would like our special guests to come up to the microphone and introduce themselves, their businesses, and the organizations they represent, and provide any public comments if they wish. And if you could please follow me up for the reading of the proclamation, I would appreciate that also. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susie Gibson. I'm here on behalf of my farm business, Bowensville Farm and Nursery, located right here in Prince Frederick. And I'm also here on behalf of Calvert County Farm Bureau. Just want to say thank you for always coming to support agriculture for all of us.
Thank you.
My name's Gabrielle Graham. I am the CASE Agriculture Program Teacher at the CTA. We're very grateful for the opportunity to be here today, and I also brought a student with me as well.
Good.
Hello, I am Raleigh Sterling. I am the student of the CASE Agriculture Program. I am also Calvert FFA's chapter president.
Congratulations.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Dunn. I'm from Cardinal Creek Plant Farm, and I'm also president of the Calvert County Farmers Market Association.
Hi, I'm Brittany Doyle. I'm here representing my farm, Dahlia and Vine Flower Farm in Prince Frederick, and just want to say thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Sunderland. I'm here representing Linda's Greenhouses and Jake's Produce with Courtney, who's been with us for quite a few years now, and I just want to say thank you guys for all your support.
Yay, Courtney.
Hello, I'm Hayden Shug. I'm from the University of Maryland Extension. I'm an agricultural and food systems extension educator for Charles County, but I also cover Calvert County. So I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for supporting agricultural across all southern Maryland counties.
Good morning. My name is Treasure Thomas. I'm the founder and CEO of My Mustard Seed. We're an urban farm located in Calvert County, St. Leonard. We grow microgreens, and we're currently growing edible flowers and herbs as well. I also sit on the SMATIC board representing Calvert County farmers.
Good morning. I'm Benson Torella. I'm here representing the Calvert Soil Conservation District. I'm the chairman of the Board of Supervisors there. And I'd like to take a moment to thank the commissioners for all their support in the last few years, especially as we work through our mission to assist farmers and conserve the wonderful water and soil we have here in Calvert County.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Cosgrove. I'm wearing two hats today. I am the president of the Calvert County Farm Bureau, and I'd like to thank our 5 commissioners, all 5 of you, for keeping our farmers and agriculture in the forefront of your minds when making decisions. I am also the owner of Horseman Farm, along with my husband, JR. And in about 2 weeks, we're going to open up for Easter Fun on the farm. So get your tickets at our website and come on down.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Frey, and I work with Caroline and Julie in Economic Development.
Good morning, Julie Oberg, Director of Economic Development. Ag is a huge part of our local economy, and it helps us to preserve open space and our rural heritage, so we're very grateful to our agricultural community. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming out. So agriculture is the #1 industry in the state of Maryland, and we have quite a crowd today. I don't think we've ever had this many people before. So we're very happy that you all could make it in here today. And I have a little bit of history in agriculture, and it's vitally important that we have our farmers. I've always said that a preservation program really isn't any good at all if you don't have a farmer to farm the land. People talk about preserving land and open space, but having a farmer actually on the land is the critical piece. So we have to make sure that they're profitable, and I think that our team at Economic Development does their best to support all of you and your businesses. If they don't, let me know. And we're glad to see a future farmer here because we need the next generation. I'm getting pretty old, and somebody's got to take my place, so we're going to need some backup. Because the average age of a farmer in this country today is about 68 years old. I used to be below average, but I'm not anymore. It's very sad. But it's very important that we have a next generation come along because there is great opportunity. And, we saw that when we started the buy local movement here in Maryland where people want to know where their food comes from. So it's a great opportunity for small farms that can produce enough income off a small acreage to provide a livelihood. We see a lot of first-generation farmers now that we didn't see for a long time because of that opportunity. And you can go to the Calvert County website, list all the farmers markets and all the farm producers in Calvert County and Waterman that have items for sale. So you can get just about anything you need right here in Calvert County. You spend your money locally, that money stays here in this economy, and it helps us keep our values and our culture right here in Calvert County. So it's vitally important that you get out and support at all the farmers markets. I think we have 4 in the county, maybe 5 soon. So we greatly appreciate all the citizens out there that support our individual farmers and watermen. So I have a proclamation to read. Whereas the Agricultural Council of America, ACA, has designated March 18th, 2025 as National Agriculture Day to recognize the vital role of agriculture in our daily lives. And whereas Calvert County is home to more than 285 farms and over 500 farmers and watermen who provide high-quality produce, meat, dairy, grain, seafood, timber, and other essential products while demonstrating perseverance and dedication. And whereas agriculture is a cornerstone of Calvert County's economy, environment, and heritage, supporting local employment and contributing to the community's overall well-being. And whereas farm families steward more than 24,600 acres of farmland, preserving the county's natural resources, ensuring the sustainability of local agriculture for future generations. And whereas Calvert County is committed to maintaining its strong rural heritage and supporting a diverse, resilient agricultural industry that meets consumer demand for fresh local products. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that March 18th, 2025 is National Ag Day. Be it further proclaimed that all citizens are encouraged to recognize the essential contributions of agriculture and support its continued success. Given our hands and seals this 18th day of March 2025, signed by all five.
Thank you.
Come on in.
Can I have the entire front row scoot this way to them? Thank you. And while also squishing a bit. Should I see everybody? Can I actually see everybody? Not quite. Sarah Frey, can you move a little to your left, please? Thank you. All right, here's your chance to link, everybody. Thank you for your patience. 3, 2, 1. Commissioner Hart, can you move a little to your right, please? Thank you. Perfect. Perfect. 3, 2, 1. Looking forward to farmers market season, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
See you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I got enough food.
All right, I will.
Good seeing you. Take care, absolutely. Take care. Keep it straight. I've been on water. It's killing me. How are you? Good to see you. So what's your interest in farming on land?
I would do soil science.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I haven't decided where I'm going to go to school next. Thank you.
Well, there's a place for you, obviously.
Have a good day.
There you go.
Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye. See you soon.
So the next item on the agenda is new business, and I'm just going to warn you, this getting ready to take a turn. we just went from the highlight of the meeting to the low light.
No one's safe today.
Welcome.
You're not kidding?
Welcome.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
So the next item is Department of Finance and Budget tax differential rates for the town of Chesapeake Beach and North Beach. Mayor Wall and Mayor Benton, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
I was really talking about Mayor Benton. I wasn't talking
I've heard worse, don't worry.
by worse, right?
Thank you all for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Mary Andes, Acting Budget Deputy Director. I'm just going to summarize the memo, and then we'll move on to the mayor's. The background of this tax differential rate for the towns of Chesapeake Beach and North Beach State law allows municipalities to seek a reduction in the county property tax their residents pay based upon the premise that town residents also pay a town property tax that funds services the county is relieved from providing within the town. In the past, the Board of County Commissioners would meet with the mayors of the county's 2 incorporated towns, North Beach and Chesapeake Beach, to discuss the tax rate differential. The county's current real property tax rate for the fiscal year 2025 is .967 per 100 assessed value, and FY 2026 is not proposed to increase. Currently, the tax differential for the town is .336 per 100 assessed value. The tax differential rate is an adjustment to the county rate for town residents. This is an annual reduction to the county's revenues by lowering the tax rate for the town's residents. The rationale for this lower tax rate is the savings the county receives as a result of the town-provided services. With the board's concurrence, the FY 2026 budget presented for adoption will maintain the existing tax differential for the town's assessed value for FY 2025, and for FY 2027, the staff requests that the board request the town submit a detailed proposal stating the desired level of property tax set-off for the next fiscal year. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for allowing us to be here. Every year, when we all go into the budget cycle, we know that sometimes there's a struggle, and this year is no different, maybe tougher than a long time. Our towns provide over 80 services to our county residents that live in our municipalities. And, we appreciate the tax differential. It's huge for our residents without it. And I will say there are towns out there that do not have a tax differential, and they do not work well with their county commissioners. And I want to say that we truly appreciate everything that you do for our town. And I don't know if we could survive without this tax differential. So continue to support our town is huge, and just let us know what you need from us. We look forward to next year. We have a great breakdown that I already have, so we look forward to continue this relationship, and we're here for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and I'll just echo what my colleague, Mayor Benton said. I'm, as you all know, recently back in my first portion of my 3rd term as mayor, but not consecutive. And the previous administration was not very cooperative in providing us with information as we, in the transition. So it's been very difficult for us to dig and find out information. But I appreciate the fact that the tax differential is going to essentially remain the same. That provides, that our taxpayers within the municipality are not penalized for being in the municipality tax-wise. So very grateful for that. And I'm also I want to just say that I'm very grateful for the support that I'm receiving from the Board of County Commissioners. We've been in touch quite a bit, and we're getting things smoothed out and moving forward within the town of Chesapeake Beach. And my commission, my board is 6 members of the board, but there's only one that's ever served before, so all the rest of them are brand new. So it's quite a learning curve for them, and I appreciate the support of the commissioners in working with you, and let us know what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I hope that the town feels the support and the citizens understand that, we don't forget you're up there in that far corner, and try to stay in touch as much as we can, provide as much support as we can. Really do appreciate what you all do. It takes a load off of us. We don't have to worry about that portion because I never get any complaints about what's going on up there. So that's always a good thing when we don't get any complaints. But we do appreciate the work that you all do, and I understand your challenge of having a new council and how that could.
New council, new administrator, everything.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
So I'm the only.
We talk about that frequently.
I'm the only old guy there.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you especially because I'm in District 3 and we love North Beach and Chesapeake Beach. We frequent it. 2 of our 3 children still live in the area and walk the boardwalk, go down to Traders, Great towns.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And really, without the differential, we'd be double taxing our citizens, and we don't, that doesn't seem appropriate.
I will tell you that happens in a lot of municipalities, so I don't know if people really truly appreciate what is going on here. If you want to, just call it over to Ocean City and see the other towns that have been in lawsuits for 20 years trying to get it to change. So
Right.
what y'all are doing is very favorable to and supportive and is needed to our residents of both municipalities. And I want to thank Commissioner Grasso. She shows up to pretty much any event that we have, every event. She calls. All of you do. We're in communication with all commissioners. So just keep doing what you're doing. And I know it's a hard fight sometimes, but we appreciate you.
We sure do. Thank you very much.
Municipalities are difficult. People don't understand, there was a talk, remember, down my way, they wanted to, you remember that? They wanted to make CRE municipality.
Yes.
I'm like, there are so many moving parts. I mean, you just don't go, hey, we're going to be a municipality tomorrow. I mean, your guys' whole world changes as soon as the weather breaks. Thousands and thousands of people come in, and it's just so many moving parts down there. It is very difficult to run, and you guys don't have a lot of space to do it in. So everything has to be thought out, methodical. No, thank you guys for what you do down there. Like Commissioner Ann said, I never hear anything.
Perfect. Fantastic.
I just want to echo the same, and keeping it safe and clean
Yes.
for our citizens and for our visitors that come to the two towns.
So Mayor Wall, do you want to talk about any changes you're going to make in the beach?
Oh, my gosh. I don't know that we have enough time.
Just do some highlights.
Well, the top level administration of the town has changed. The previous town administrator left in a flurry and without really any support. So Samelia Akpodu, who has been here with me before you, is now the town administrator. She's doing very well, but she's also very overwhelmed with all of the things that are hitting her. And our treasurer, the town treasurer, who I've never met face-to-face, has been on maternity leave, Brittany Moran. But she's been on maternity leave since before I took office. And she announced last week that she is not coming back at the end of her maternity leave, and she's becoming the treasurer of the city of Annapolis. So we're looking for a new treasurer. And without these two key positions, or with the transition, we really had our hands full. But Samelia Akpodu, who you've met, she's doing a great job, and I'm very grateful she's there. And the rest of the staff is stepping up as needed. Some of them, Sharon Hum, for example, and Fran Adicott have been there for decades. So, and Jay Berry, head of Public Works, he's been there. He was there long before I left in my previous term of service. So we're getting there. It's just taking time. The most difficult thing right now is that 5 of the 6 council members have never served before. And so they're not only having to deal with all of the issues within the town, but learning how to operate within the municipal government. So, but I greatly appreciate the support of this, of this commission. So thank you so much.
Anything the citizens are going to see change as far as?
Yes, things are evolving. And I think over the course of the next several months, they'll see, hopefully things are going to start smoothing out.
What he's trying to tell you is he's not ready to talk about it.
I was trying to be.
Preempt his announcement.
Mr. President, I was trying to be a little bit more diplomatic.
Sometimes.
No, there's other changes. There's other changes I didn't know if he was ready to talk about.
Well, apparently not.
Not really.
Okay.
We're just really still trying to get our feet on the ground.
Mayor Wall.
Sounds like you have a lot going on.
We do.
Mayor Wall, after Easter, let's get together. Okay?
Absolutely.
I'll give you a call and we'll
Perfect.
set something up. Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
And I'll toss in one more thing. This is personal. I think all of you know that I'm a heart transplant recipient from about 3.5 years ago, and I had my checkup yesterday, and it went perfectly. So
Very
I had
good.
my semi-annual checkup, and they said, as far as I can tell, the heart's still beating and I'm still alive. So
We'll check that next year this time and see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see what they say next year.
That's
Because,
great.
we talk about government, as you step down from federal government, you get closer and closer, and we talk about how we interact with our 93,000 citizens. But you all, as local town mayors, affect your neighbors every day.
Yes.
And you see them every day.
Yes.
Whereas we don't see all 93,000, we hear from a few, but
Right.
when you get to your level, you're in their face all
Yeah,
the time.
yes.
And, for a new council member, that's going to be a challenge because
It is.
when you're on the outside looking in, you think you can just cure everything and fix the whole world. And then when you get into the job, you find out what your limitations are and you find out you really can't change a whole lot sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's a challenge for
Well,
a new
that is the
elected official.
challenge, and also getting the council to collaborate and work together instead of working against each other. I mean, because they have individual ideas, and they're not bad ideas, but we need to coalesce and come together and move forward rather than arguing over nitpicky details.
Takes a little time.
It's a huge learning curve. It really
It
is. I
is.
tell everybody, when you first win, you don't even know where the bathroom is. I mean, you sit there and you're Facebook warrior and fixing the world's problems and everything, and then you get there and you go, well, why can't you do that? Maybe it's against the law. Or people are like something just like a sidewalk. People, why can't you put sidewalks everywhere? Because there's 4 pieces of property and the guy in the middle doesn't want to sell. And your sidewalk project's done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple.
If we just got rid of our attorney, we could move a lot faster and do a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I won't be here that day either.
I'm not a part of this conversation. I'm staying.
And so much of stuff, it's going to end up in court. So, it's like everything you do, and people, say, oh, I would just, no, you won't.
Yeah.
You won't do that, I mean, it's a lot of good intentions,
Yes.
and what your new members are going to learn is, as soon as they go to the grocery store, hey, I hate to bother you,
But
and you got to learn your job because if now all of a sudden they're representing the town. So if you don't know how to respond or be humble enough to go, I don't know, give me your name and number, I'll find out, and
Right.
actually get back to them. I mean, that's
great.
because that's especially in a small town. I mean, they know what I drive. I
Exactly.
throw a curveball. Carolyn will drive my truck. They get so upset. They see it's Carolyn. Like, oh.
And his town's smaller than yours, and they know what he drives too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They know what you drive.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, and I don't hide from anybody. I mean,
No.
I'm always
Right.
willing to talk to people.
Yeah.
But I also know that, on the council, people have the council members have different ideas about how to get to the same thing done, and we need to get the unity. I mean, we need to develop that unity, and we're working on
Looks
it.
like you got a good team.
I do too. I do too. I'm encouraged. It's just that we're on the learning curve.
Yeah.
5 out of 6 being brand new.
Right.
So if y'all need anything, we're here. Just
Yep.
Well, and we appreciate that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I do have a motion. I move that we maintain the existing tax differential for the towns of .336 per $100 assessed value for the next fiscal year.
Second?
A motion is second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right,
Thank you so
gentlemen.
much.
did your
Thank
job.
you
See
very
guys.
much.
Thank you.
We're going to get a picture with,
Really?
I'll put this up there.
I'm gonna take your picture.
All right.
Must be a strong jammer.
Oh, wait, put the mics down.
You didn't tell me I was supposed to wear a sports coat.
That's all right.
Double time.
Smile. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Not today, not today.
Yes. Yes, sir.
They're redoing the creeds or whatever.
You just got retired.
Just think about it.
Thank you all.
Have a good
Thank you.
day. Thank
See you now.
The next item on the agenda is appointments. We have 2 today. Ms. Emily?
Good morning, Commissioners. Emily Shreves, Constituent Services Specialist, and we have 2 appointments for your consideration today. Appointment number 1 is for the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. Staff recommends that you appoint Ricardo Pierrick to the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee, and following this action, there would be no vacancies.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Ricardo Pierrick to the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The second one is for the Calvert County Blueprint Committee. Staff recommends that you appoint Kama Friedman to the Calvert County Blueprint Committee, and following this appointment, there would be 1 vacancy for another citizen representative.
I move that we appoint Kama Friedman to the Calvert County Blueprint Committee as one of our citizen appointees.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
any of you out there listening, we're paying attention. We still do have a citizen vacancy on the Blueprint Committee. So if anybody feels the need or desire, please reach out and we'll get you all applied and appointed. Next item on the agenda is consent. We have 2 items under consent today. Department of Parks and Recreation, Calvert County Youth Opportunities Recreation Fund 2025 application. Item 2, Department of Community Resources Fiscal Year 2026 Transportation Grant Application. Are there any objections to those items under consent today?
None.
None. I move that we adopt and approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda today is a presentation, Department of Community Resources Vaping Awareness Month presentation. Dr. Mora? Good.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Fatineh Zamora, Health Officer of the Calvert County Health Department, and I brought with me Ms. Jane Dodd. Jane?
My name is Jane Dodds. I'm one of the nurses at the Health Department, and I coordinate the Tobacco Use Prevention and Cessation Program, which includes vaping.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So in the next 20 minutes, we'd like to present to you information on the data on youth vaping trends, as well as the health risks and health effects of vaping. And then finally, we will end this with a few recommendations on steps and actions that can be taken to help reduce vaping among our youth. Okay, I will start with a very basic slide here. I'd like to draw your attention to the screen. On this slide, I'd like to be able to introduce you to how a vaping mechanism works and then what happens when that enters the body. So on the left side of the slide, as you can see, the devices are quite colorful. They can be very small and can be easily concealed by a student. And so a teacher or an adult may never realize that a student is vaping. On the lower part of the slide are the multiple flavors that vaping comes into. And the flavors are quite attractive to our young people. And most of them think that that's the only thing that's in the vaping mechanism. So at the center of the slide is a schematic of what a vaping device looks like. So it is actually called ENDS, or electronic nicotine delivery system, which that's basically what it is. And it has a cartridge that houses the e-liquid. It has an atomizer, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit. It has sensors and then a battery that provides the power. So when a user inhales, the battery sends a current to the atomizer, which then heats up the device up to 100 to 400 degrees Celsius, thus creating aerosols from the e-liquid, and those aerosols become suspended in air. When they're suspended in air, they can be easily inhaled, And when a person who's got a schematic on the right inhales it through their nose and their mouth, those aerosols make it all the way to the deepest part of the lungs. So on the picture in there, or in the image, you see the little clusters. Those are called the alveoli. Those are the very deep, they're located in the very deepest parts of one's lungs, and that's where the exchange of oxygen and air occurs. And the vape or the aerosol can make it all the way there, gets deposited in the lung, and can cause reactions. So when the body has foreign body in it, there's an immune system or immune response that occurs, and that immune response is typically inflammation. They can be very low level, and it can be not felt by a user, or there are some users who can have a tremendous amount of immune response, and that becomes sort of like a manifestation of a disease that I'll talk to you about in a little bit in a few of the slides. Okay, so what is in an aerosol? First of all, the aerosol is very small. The size can range from a few nanometers to a few micrometers. And you can imagine that those are very small. But they can contain all of those things that are shown on the slide. And so, but why is that the case? Well, the manufacturing of these devices are not regulated. So these substances can be in multiple concentrations within the vaping mechanism, and there's not a way for us to tell how much are in there. The manufacturers aren't even required to list those ingredients out on the label. And so the most significant substance is nicotine, and I'll talk about the effects of nicotine later. But there are other things, including cancer-causing chemicals such as benzene, formaldehyde, what's shown in there, and then the heavy metals. So those heavy metals are there because they leach out of the atomizers or the device when they're heated up to 400 degrees Celsius. And then there are other things. The flavorings sometimes can cause problems in the lungs, as well as these ultrafine particles. And we don't even know what those ultrafine particles are. But because they are foreign body, and they're introduced into the lung, then the lung reacts to that, at various levels, depending on the person. So on the next slide, I'd like to show you the trends of use of vaping among our high school students and middle school students in the United States. And then I have a slide that shows what that usage is in Calvert County. So when I saw this one, I did not use the word epidemic. This is actually a word that's being used by the CDC, as well as people who are studying the trends of vaping in the United States. Usually the word epidemic is used in infectious diseases, and it's actually used when the rate or the prevalence of a certain condition far exceeds what's expected. And as you can see there, so those are probably quite small, but the graph on the right shows the prevalence of vaping, or percentage of high school students who were using the e-cigarettes from 2011 to 2023. And as you can see, there's a sharp rise in their use between 2014 and 2020. And thus it's called an epidemic. And today, we are fortunate to see that there's some decrease in those rates, but the rates are still high, and we'd like to see those rates to come down even further. So in 2024, the e-cigarettes remain the most commonly used tobacco product among our middle school and high school students, and up to 7.8 high school students are using these, and 3.5% of middle school students are using the vape. And more females tend to use them compared to males. There was, during the height of the epidemic, 1 in 4 high school students actually admitted to vaping. And I was actually quite surprised and very concerned upon seeing that data. And so our goal at the health department is to really do our best to educate the community, educate the schools, educate the students to help reduce those rates. Sure.
With this data, you have to look and see that Dr. Tanasia Moore is correct. It is keep going up. But after 2020, if you remember what happened, it was it's COVID-19. And not as many kids were in school, so not as many kids were answering the survey for Calvert County. I would assume that'd be across the board in the United States too. So a lot of them were home, a lot of them were doing, they have to answer these questions at home or online. And I don't think that as many kids finished it. I know the one in Calvert that she's going to talk about in a minute, there were less than 2,000 kids surveyed. So we kind of have to keep that in mind.
Thank you very much, Jane. And so that data may be an underestimate of the actual prevalence right after or during the pandemic and then shortly thereafter. And so the slide that you're seeing now shows the percentage of high school students who vaped in the past 30 days in the state of Maryland and in Calvert County. The one for Calvert County are the ones in orange there. And as you can see, the rates are higher here, even from 2018 to 2019, and then most recently when a survey was sent out again and students were asked to answer them, yes, they're still slightly higher among Calvert County students compared to the state of Maryland. Okay. I find this very interesting slide and very informative. So why is it that our youth vape? And I was surprised and quite concerned about finding out the reasons, as I researched this topic. So we know that there's modeling that occurs at home when family members or their friends pressure them or influence them. They will likely start using a vaping device. However, there are other factors. So because the e-liquids come in multiple flavors that are quite attractive to the youth, the flavors are they're candy, dessert, coffee, menthol. And so that kind of draws them to the product. And most of them, I'd say up to 66% of the students think that's the only thing that's in the vaping device. And so they're not aware of the nicotine and all of those toxins that are being introduced, as they use these devices. So they have a false sense of security and false sense of safety. And it's primarily because the products don't really carry the ingredients. When we use something, our first instinct is to take a look at it and see what's in it. And if it's not in there, then we are trusting the manufacturer that what's in there is just, there's nothing that's harmful. But unfortunately, that is not the case because it's not regulated enough for manufacturers to place that information for the consumer.
Doc, you said that a couple times where it's not regulated. So what, in the state of Maryland, I know alcohol has changed. It used to be on ATF, but it's moved over to, I think, the Cannabis Board. Both, that's heavily regulated. Cigarettes are heavily regulated. Who's charged with that in the state? What board is that under? Because they have to get a license for somewhere. I mean, you get a sales and use license. So for somebody to purchase this, I know nothing about vaping. I've been through a couple of these presentations, and it's nothing but health risks. It's all you hear is how bad it is. But what board is charged with that in the state that grants those licenses for retail sale?
Good question. The FDA is the one that regulates these things. But the problem is there's so many of them that come in. There's over 6,000 of these pieces of vape pens or different types of vape pens, but there's only like 34 or so that have been actually approved to be sold. The problem is there's so many of them that the FDA can't keep up, and I'm afraid that's going to even get worse. The other thing is in Maryland, they just have to get a license.
Right, but is there no stipulations on what products? So, I mean, like right now, cannabis is the hot discussion.
Yes. And
and you have the places for that, and then there's like the Delta 9 derivatives that come off of that. You have your CBD stores and all this. But all these are separate licenses. It's all regulated through the things. And I know the jury's still out on a whole lot of this, but at least there's some regulation, some attempt it doesn't sound like, listening to you guys, that there is, like, they could order from some online place from the end of the world to this retail establishment, but tobacco was under an OTP license, tobacco, you get a tobacconist or other tobacco products. What is that under?
So the tobacco products that are.
Well, this vape, is it not under?
No, it's under the FDA, it's under tobacco.
But that's the federal piece. When it comes to the state, the tobacconist license or the OTP license you gotta have, what license, yeah, you know where I'm going. Where is that?
I'll have to get back to you, but yes, I do, it's the Alcohol and Tobacco Board.
That issues the license for the retailer to sell that?
Because I could be wrong on that, but this is a tobacco product. So they act on it like it's a tobacco product.
So why wouldn't Maryland regulate that the same way they do cigarettes?
I guess because it's so new. I don't know. But the problem is, a lot of these things come from overseas. And
see, in Maryland, you can't do that. You gotta have the Maryland tax stamp. So when they come out and look, if they see Virginia tax stamps, boy, you're in the grease. I mean, so.
Who's looking at the stamp?
And that's, well, people
That's
from
a
the state.
problem.
People from the state.
That's for cigarettes and.
Right,
And,
right.
you know,
Okay.
And Commissioner Allen can tell you, he remembers it, right, there's things in place for that, so where's the regulation and the watching on this vaping?
Well, I don't think there's enough.
Yeah,
That is a problem. You're right. There's another organization that does look at this, and I'll have to get back to you on that. I apologize, I don't know, or I can't remember at the moment. But it's not as regulated as people think, and that is the problem.
And I think that's a scary part you're saying, because they think, it's like with alcohol. Alcohol
It's
comes
very
into the state. It goes to a licensed distributor, which goes through all its vetting, everything from there. Then from there, the 3-tier system, when it comes down. So when that inspector comes out, he pulls an invoice and he matches up, hey, that was purchased through there, matches there. I mean, there's a check and balances all the way through. Sounds like with this, retailer
see
can
one.
go online, UPS brings a box of
Yes.
vaping things or
Yes.
whatever, and it's in the market.
Yes, children can get online, and the only question there is are you 21 or not?
And there's no way
And
that
they're
they can
saying
even verify
no.
that.
The other problem is, in this county, not all vape stores will follow the rule of law of 21. They will sell to under 21-year-olds. I know that because the kids I talk to, I've talked to thousands of children about this, they will say, oh, I know which store to go to and which one not to.
So are there not,
And-
like in my industry, I mean, we get stung all the time. That's just part of it, and
But
they
mostly
check cigarettes and alcohol.
Isn't that mostly alcohol?
Yes.
Yes.
But how come with this, because there are vape stores,
Yes.
why wouldn't it be the same process where they bring in the person to see if you'll sell to the minor?
Oh, but they do that. We do.
Okay.
And Mr. Norris knows all about that. The kids, the sheriff's office goes in and then will talk to the owner, not them. They will have their decoy, who's usually one of the younger people from the detention center. They go in and buy it. Well, then if they do sell it to that person, well, then they'll go in and they'll get fined. And that's about the only way we know if anyone, that's the
To
only
sell it to a
regulation I
minor.
know of.
Gotcha. Okay, but then, once again, there's no way to regulate what product that is. At that point, you're just verifying
Well,
age.
that's right. So there's like 34 or so pieces of these vape pens that are actually approved. I don't know how they get approved, which I know that sounds funny, but how they have never been approved as a quit smoking device.
Well, that's a lot of the THC stuff out there. So right now
Oh,
you're
it's
seeing an
terrible.
explosion
Terrible.
of, there must be 9,000 different companies that will ship to whatever, but you don't know what's in the thing. So, that's the next industry that,
Absolutely.
because all of the big, liquor houses across, they've all investigated into this. They know that's the next wave coming. but they haven't pulled the trigger on it because right now the federal government still has it as CDS. But the industries are out there, and it sounds like with what you're talking about this vaping, that it's the same type thing where it's just.
It's an enforcement issue is what it is.
Yes, yes, and if anyone is watching today, I wish that they would, any business owner that does sell to underage minors, please stop, because I hear it from kids, it's so hard to quit vaping because they can go buy it. And the other thing is, the doctor said that there's flavors. 95% of kids vape flavors. They're not vaping tobacco flavor. If we could get those to be off the market, that'd be better too.
Well, this presentation is really good. I think just from observing that when vaping first came out, it was marketed as an alternative to smoking that was safer.
Yes.
But just like around prom time, we see mangled cars out in front of police stations or the fire departments. To see these young adults, 18 to their early 20s, who have fatal lung diseases, and to see how they've been emaciated, and this is a death sentence if you keep it up. It is for sure. And I think there needs to be stricter repercussions in the schools. I've had many parents, since I've been a commissioner, wanting to know why we as commissioners can't shut down vape stores, because they're very concerned. I think education is the key.
Yes.
And repercussions within the school system. They did a great job marketing a lethal object, and it is lethal.
They spend billions a year on marketing.
Mm-hmm.
The school systems have done a lot. We have done a lot through the health department for the community and the schools. Hospital has, CASA has, the library, for Pete's sake. I mean, all these people have done things to get this information out. And in May, we are having Dr. Galileo Santos from Johns Hopkins come down and talk to parents about nicotine and about THC and what parents can do. So I hope that, we get parents to come.
Do we know how many e-pens equals how many cigarettes?
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
Okay.
Because it'll say on there 5%, which the kids think 95% is fine. 5% equals about, 1% equals about 10 milligrams. So 5% is about 50 milligrams, which is more than a pack of cigarettes.
It's actually equivalent to 2 packs of
2
cigarettes.
packs. And my second question is, what is a timeline that you predict that you may see some of the long-term effects from vaping? Is it going to be 5 years? Is it going to be 10, 20? And I know it's, you got cancer and cardiac and whatever, but what is your opinion on that?
So actually, the next few slides will talk about that, Commissioner.
Sorry, I got ahead of her.
Yeah, without problem. But I'll answer that question. The long-term effects are unknown right now, but we know that all of those substances have been linked with cancer everywhere else. And I'll talk to you, and I'll just discuss those in a little bit. But I think the most significant one that a youngster or a youth faces today is really the addiction. It is the nicotine dependence that comes or occurs after they take the vape. Then we'll talk about acute health risks as well as the what we think might be the long-term health risks. So this is an image of the brain, and when a young person inhales, right, so the nicotine are in the aerosols, they get into the lung, the nicotine delivers into the bloodstream through the lung, and then delivers to the blood-brain barrier within 20 to 30 seconds of inhaling. Now, that's rather quick. And when the nicotine ends up in the brain, it binds to receptors that stimulate sort of like the pleasure effects. And so that's what the user remembers, are the pleasure effects. But those are temporary. And once the nicotine is gone, then there's the craving that follows that. And so nicotine is the substance that makes it very difficult for a youth or an adult to quit tobacco. And it's especially important because in young people, they are more sensitive to the effects of nicotine. Their brains are still developing at that point. And so there's part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is the one that's pink on the image. So that's the area of the brain that controls and takes care of a person's reasoning, decision-making, execution of cognitive functions. And these are more higher complex thinking activities, as well as inhibition, or those activities that allow a person to act appropriately among their peers. But while that's developing, and when nicotine is actually out there and exposes that part of the brain, then it's a negative effect on the adolescent. And so there are studies, research have shown that the adolescents who may have disturbances in memory, as well as decision-making, and then behavioral issues, later in life. And so that's serious. So something that they're doing now really could affect them 20, 30 years from now, throughout their entire lifetime. And so we consider that fairly significant and serious. On top of that, there's the addiction or the dependence on nicotine that occurs. And another thing that happens is, so there's an entity or a condition called nicotine withdrawal. And so this is a set of symptoms that are felt by the user when they want to stop or when they want to decrease their intake of nicotine. Then they'll have all of these side effects, including irritability, feeling anxious, difficulty concentrating, and sleeplessness. And how do they then manage that? Well, they'll go and take another vape to reduce their symptoms. And unfortunately, it becomes kind of a circular thing. And so it becomes difficult for them to quit. Now, other effects of vape or e-cigarettes are as follows. I did a little bit of research on this, and there are reports of burn injuries from those devices. So over 2,000 reported cases of burn injuries in emergency rooms, which is kind of appalling, but that happens. And then nicotine poisoning. So this is the same as having overdose on nicotine. And a person who experiences that will experience all the symptoms that are listed there, including elevated heart rate and elevated blood pressure. And to me, the most concerning one is that if the levels are so high, then they could even experience muscle twitching and seizures from this.
This was really surprising to me when I read this. Boy, these are some serious side effects.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And the thing is, so you're probably saying, well, how come? What is it that makes them take in that much nicotine that could cause these symptoms and signs? Well, those e-cigarettes, they're actually designed to deliver higher levels of nicotine. And the 5%, that's already 50 micrograms per ml, which is equivalent to the 2 packs of regular cigarettes. And just for references, I did find this information. So 1 teaspoon of that liquid nicotine can be fatal to a 10-kilogram child. And so, and that really then drives home the message to users that they really should be locking the e-liquids up, locking them up when at home, because when a smaller child has access to these, they can potentially ingest them and experience toxic symptoms and end up in an emergency room. Okay, the next condition I'm going to talk about is actually what Commissioner Grasso had discussed. This is a condition that can occur even with a few puffs or after several days or weeks of being exposed to the vaping, to vaping. And it's an acute lung injury that happens. So there's inflammation in the lung that occurs. And because of that, the person who experiences these symptoms develop cough, shortness of breath, fever. They may lose weight. And they may get to the point where their oxygenation is so poor that they may require hospitalization and even intubation. So this condition was recognized in the United States at the height of vaping use among our young people. So this was in 2019. And they were associated with vapings that use THC or cannabis and the vitamin E acetate. And unfortunately, this has led to 60 confirmed deaths. And actually, that's data from several years ago. So today, there are 70 deaths from multiple states because of this condition. And I just wanted to show you, this is actually a CAT scan or an image of the lung. It's a cross-sectional, if you imagine you're looking up, a cross-section of the lung of a person, a 17-year-old male who had EVALI, or the e-cigarette vaping acute lung injury. And a normal lung will have dark, dark films sort of like all over it. You'll just see the heart, which is on the top there. But this young gentleman had opacities, or all of the light-colored materials that are just all over their lung. And so they suffered from, inflammation from as a reaction to exposure to the vaping. And the unfortunate part is, we don't really know what happens to these. Do they ever get their pulmonary function back or their lung function back? That hasn't been the case. So this is still being studied by pulmonologists and researchers. So I know that right now, many of them don't bounce back to where they were, but will they ever recover over years? We don't know that. Okay, and then the long-term effects. So the long-term effects of vaping is not known because it'll probably take, so cancer takes many, many years to develop, 20 to 30 years, maybe even longer. And then there are multiple factors that influence that too, including genetics, one's genetic makeup, how much did they take in, what other predisposition or predisposing factors they had. But, and so we are, the researchers are monitoring this. People at the Centers for Disease Control who are focusing on vaping and vaping health effects, they're watching these carefully. But we do know that there are concerns because, like I listed in there, those toxins that are present in vaping really have been linked with other cancers. So, for example, like nickel and cadmium have been linked with occurrences of lung cancer as well as nasopharyngeal cancer. The formaldehydes and the aldehydes, those are toxic to multiple tissues, and the ones that have been shown are toxicity to the heart muscles. And then finally, the diacetyl, causes lung tissue damage, and then benzene. Benzene has been linked with leukemias as well as kidney cancers. Okay, so the next few slides are just informative, and then they are, we're going to outline what a person could do. If they're a vapor, if they're using this device, then a young person really should be talking to a trusted adult and asking for guidance, and then talking to their healthcare provider, because there are ways that we can help them. A healthcare provider can help a vapor use or decrease their use. And it involves therapy. It involves nicotine therapy. The process is that it's a controlled exposure to nicotine so that it can be weaned down carefully. And then there's also behavioral therapy that could help them out in quitting. And for people who are contemplating quitting vaping or tobacco use, we have very excellent resources and an expert at the Calvert County Health Department. So Ms. Jane Dodd is the program director. She's an instructor coordinator of our program.
We do have programs for adults. Now, we have this Thursday night, we have at 6 p.m., we have a class online or in person. And Saturday morning, we start a class at 10 a.m. It's just virtual. They're 8-week classes, all free to the community. This is for 18 and above. If you're under 18, if you want to quit smoking, every time we go into the school, actually, we were in a school today. I left the school to come over here. There's a health fair. We give out the information for free, confidential, and anonymous quit resources for teenagers. And also, if they come to the health department, I'd be more than happy to talk to them and help them out. We do know that the American Academy of Pediatrics will say that if these young people are addicted, that they can use nicotine replacement therapy. But they do have to talk to their pediatrician.
Yes, and that's prescribed by them, and it should be carefully recommended by the physicians or their healthcare provider.
What about hypnosis? How successful is that? I know I only had one child who smoked, and when he was in college, that was his birthday present, and it did work for him.
It does work for some people. It's very interesting. And I find that interesting that you would say so, because starting this class, we have a lady who teaches hypnosis. We had her last class. It was just one class that she taught hypnosis. Unfortunately, nobody quit, but I've had other people say that yes, it does work. But she'll be teaching again next week. She'll be here this week, but she'll be here next week too, and she will have hypnosis during the class.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a longer class.
Interesting.
Yes.
I know if you've ever sat with a person who's dying from a lung disease, it's a horrible death.
It's horrible.
It is. And being older now and thinking I knew everything when I was younger, there's a lot that has come back to bite me, and that's what it does to all of us.
Yes.
For sure.
And they don't tell you when you're teenagers normally.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good that you're part of the health fair with the school system.
I'm sorry?
I say it's very good that you're part of the health fair with the school system.
Oh.
But, a lot of our youth get caught in school with vape.
Yes, they do.
Is there any working with the school board for those that get caught with those vapes to have to attend
Yes.
vaping cessation classes, so we're moving along in the right direction with that?
Once a month, I have a vaping, it's called Saturday Anti-Vaping Education Session. It's from 9 to 12. And anybody caught vaping can come to this, or if a parent or the school. The thing is, it is not mandatory, so therefore I don't get a lot of kids, because the parents will say, oh, they have stuff to do, they can't make it on a weekend. But the kids who do come through do seem to, it really helps them. If they don't quit right away, they do seem to think about it and cut back. And sometimes I'll see them, like at the health fairs, they'll say, hey, I remember you, do you remember me? And they'll say, I quit vaping. So not everybody, no, but it does help.
You're never going to get everybody, you're getting a good percentage, you're doing your job.
Right.
Now, I wanted to add to that quitting is very difficult. So on average, a person who smokes or uses tobacco will have to go through this at least 6 to 7 times. That's the average number of attempts to quit for adults. And it's got to be tough for the adolescents as well.
It's very hard for the adolescent because they're so social. And this is where they get together. And that is one of the 3 prongs of addiction: the social, physical, and mental. And they find it hard to quit when they're in school. They have better luck over the summer.
So is the age to buy e-cigarettes, is it 18 or is it 21?
It's 21.
It is 21.
Everything, marijuana or cannabis, alcohol, and tobacco, it's 21.
Yeah. However, I mean, the persons or the young ones below 21 are having access to them.
Yes, and that's the problem.
That is the problem. And so I was going to continue on here. So what can families do? It's really getting to know what the effects are and communicating these to their children. And if they are tobacco users, then to avoid exposing the young children as well as your adolescents to it. And so they may be less likely to start it that way. And then seek help from your healthcare provider. And this is actually, we will end with this slide. So this has the listing of all of the recommendations by the American Academy of Pediatrics on what can be done by the community at large to reduce vaping rates among our young people. And I apologize for the first one. So the FDA now has set a minimum age of 21 years old, but I think, like Commissioner Ireland said, it's in the enforcement. So somehow it's still getting into the hands of the adolescents. And so I think in general, how can that be done? It's really decreasing their access, decreasing their easy access to the vaping devices, and then banning those flavors so they find it less attractive, and then educating them about the harmful effects of it. And then there are things that can be done by the community, and it's really incorporating e-cigarettes into the tobacco-free laws of a space, for example. So one way might be to set a vape-free zone in the school buildings, in the school grounds, in the public parks or public places. And so just kind of make it tougher for them to have it. And then allow them to make them accountable for it. Perhaps tougher consequences or tough consequences for being caught while vaping. Because otherwise they may not necessarily think about it. And this is my bias thing. So if I had all my children are grown, but if I had a child or a son who's vaping, I probably would be tougher on them at home because they're not tough enough outside. But that's just me. And then supporting policies to actually address the advertising that's being targeted to our young people. So, like Jane said, billions of dollars are being spent by manufacturers to advertise these to our young people. So make those, if there are ways to support policy that would limit their ability to market to our young people, then that's actually half of the battle. And make it less available through the internet. Regulate those. That's really all we have. Happy to answer additional questions.
So is there, you say you have the sensation classes on Saturdays, but is there any opportunities during school time where you have an opportunity to talk to kids about the dangers?
Yes. I know down at Patuxent High School, Miss Pellet, she's very good. She has a group of kids who've been caught, and so she is trying to get them to quit. I go down there and talk sometimes. She'll have therapists talk, she'll have pathways come and talk and do different things, and she works with them herself. So yes, each school, maybe not each school, but some of the high schools do have these kind of programs in place.
But it sounds like we need to start in middle school.
Yes.
A program so they know the dangers before they get, because once you get hooked, then it's
Now,
much harder.
It is. Middle schoolers will, they can come to the SAVES program. The other thing we have for middle schoolers, and it'll be here next week, actually, on Thursday, or Monday and Tuesday, we have this, a rapping for prevention. And it's this rap group from Philadelphia has come down, and they talk, and they do this whole program for sixth graders. The kids love it, and it's wonderful activities. They get the kids involved. It's all about not vaping or smoking.
Is that a health department program?
It's funded through the CRF, yes.
Good.
Through my program, we fund it that way.
Right.
And the Maryland Cigarette Restitution Fund is not taxpayer funded. It is through the restitution. Then we have, it's so cool. We have wonderful teachers in this community. We have Miss Frigiletti. She used to be in the high school, but now she's at St. Leonard Elementary. She has made, and we've helped, purchase the stuff from my grant, that has a lung this half of the lung is good. You can go through this obstacle course real fast. Then this part of the lung is the damaged lung, and the kids have to struggle, and they have to end up on a rock wall to get out of their lung. It's so good because it starts at the elementary school, and we go into the schools and talk, and the teachers, they're so good because I'll get kids say, "Oh, I heard about that. My teacher told me about that." So we are talking, it's so hard to come back. There's so many billions of dollars that are spent saying it's okay.
So that does sound interesting. It's ingraining in those kids. It's part of their life. Is that only one school that's doing that though?
Yes, it is. We're hoping this year
To be able to move it around?
to move it around. Well, it's starting this year. So this is like the pilot year. And so what we want to do is get like this whole like kit for each part of the county. So those middle school or elementary schools will have it. Yes, people can bring it to another school, but it is a lot. There's a lot involved, and there's equipment.
So did Caitlin do that on her own, or was it through the school, or was it through your office, or?
With our program, yeah, we coordinate.
So that's
with
good.
her.
It sounds like you're attacking it in elementary, middle, and high school, so.
Yes, sir. We are,
That's good.
yeah.
We want to be able to expand that so that, that
Yes.
it's available to more schools.
It's important.
Well, we appreciate the presentation because we do hear from the schools now what an issue it is for them. And being a tobacco farmer, I grew up hearing about cigarettes, and now people have a misconception that vaping is okay because it's not a cigarette. So it's all about education, and as you say, we won't know the long-term effects until it's too late at this point in time. So,
Thank you very much, Board,
you.
for
Thank you.
having us in here today.
Yes, thank
I
you.
really appreciate your support and interest on this on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you
day.
very much.
That's okay.
Oh, no
We're used to
problem.
it.
Oh.
The next item on the agenda is a work session with the Office of the County Administrator, Capital Improvement Plan for FY '26 through FY '31 debrief discussion. Probably be a brief discussion.
Hopefully.
We got no money, so there's not much to talk about.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is pardon?
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Danielle Russell, and I'm the Acting Capital and Grants Management Specialist with the Office of the County Administrator. I will forego reading the memo and jump into our presentation if there are no objections.
Go ahead.
This presentation outlines suggested actions after informing the BOCC about the 6-year capital improvement plan costs as part of the FY26 staff recommended budget. Revisiting the capital budget slide from the public hearing last week, the capital budget aims to focus on long-term investments in infrastructure, facilities, and key community resources. It supports a strategic growth and development while maintaining essential public services. Total projected expenditures for FY 2026 were $89.8 million. The largest share of expenditures were education at 37%, followed by Public Works, Transportation, and Enterprise Fund, both at 20%. Largest source of revenue was debt, 49% combined, and external funding, primarily through grant programs, at 34%. Based on comments during the public hearing, the following suggested adjustments to the FY26 capital budget focus on grant-funded projects, and again, long-term investments in infrastructure, facilities, and community resources. This slide shows the grant-funded capital projects, which account for $30.4 million in CIP revenue. On this slide and the following, the asterisk next to a project title does denote a multi-year funding commitment. If you would like to know what that is, I brought my sheet with me this time, so I have that answer. Our largest contributor to capital funding grants is Northern Middle School. We also have the only other one with a match, which is the Cove Point Park Playground. So a lot of the ones that are Parks and Recreation are program open space funded. These projects are mandated, so we recommend keeping funding as staff recommended. This is the ADA transition plan, as well as the MS4 projects, which is stormwater management.
How much longer do we have doing that MS4 to, seems like we've been doing that forever.
Forever. It is forever.
Yeah.
Till the water's all clean. When's that gonna happen?
Never.
Okay. You answered your question.
Yeah.
The Director of Public Works is here if you'd like to
That's
ask that
okay.
question.
That's okay. I know I've been here in MS4 for 10 years. So.
Good morning, Commissioners. J.R. Cosgrove, Director of Public Works. I don't think MS4 is going away. It's a permit that we renew every 5 years.
What percentage are we at? I know we had to hit a certain percentage.
Correct. So for our permitted area is pretty much Lusby south of Calvert County. We have to meet a 20% reduction in the impervious area that is currently untreated by stormwater device. To date, we have met our goals. We have not seen the new permit yet to know what our new goals will be or if the area will expand. But we've been directed by MDE to continue to move forward as we were with the old permit, so that's what we're doing. So the project will be here for a while.
The director, isn't part of the issue now that things are changing weather-wise and our structures aren't designed as well as they should be based on the new weather patterns?
You could view it that way. Definitely our rainfall has increased. The storms are a little more intense than they were, so the devices aren't necessarily built for the intensity of the storm. And even MDE is looking into modifying their stormwater to change how we design currently. When that comes out, I don't know, but we are doing our own precipitation study in Calvert to see if we need to increase our design rates just based on what we're seeing.
And as they learn more, designs change, so some of the things you put in that were the best at that time now start to fail, and you gotta go back and replace them. So it's a
Correct.
never-ending cycle, Commissioner Hart, that's.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never.
Never. Yeah.
Investing in infrastructure refers to allocating resources to maintain and improve essential physical systems that support our community's daily operations. Solomon's Boardwalk and Causeways on here, as well as the sidewalk program, other storm drainage projects, transportation safety, county paving. Again, asterisks, that's a multi-year funding commitment. Also included here, we have 2 buildings getting HVAC replacement system upgrades and 1 building with a roof replacement structural work on it. For the enterprise fund, we went through these during the enterprise presentation, but these are the ones that we are including as investing in infrastructure maintenance and upgrades.
So, you probably don't know, but the director's here. I see the ENR upgrade to Solomon's where are our other plants at as far as ENR goes?
JR, Director of Public Works again. As far as the ENR upgrades at Solomon's, we're analyzing whether we need to improve it to ENR, but within that project, we're also upgrading other parts of the facilities that need to be upgraded just because of age, because I mean, some of them are dating back to the 90s. We are reviewing the other projects and plan to come and probably give you a presentation later in probably April. I'm explaining our plans and offer the other facilities we have, whether it be wastewater treatment plants or water plants.
So how many are at ENR?
I don't believe any of them are.
None?
Correct.
And does MDE still have money for cost shares for ENR upgrades?
They're still saying they have grants, but we're not, we haven't been told the funds are there. They're still telling us to apply for them, let me put it that way.
Yeah, speaking of that, what about like those BAT system grants? Are they in jeopardy? Because
That
that's
I'm not
all
sure.
tied in with all that, and if that goes away, those systems ain't happening.
I mean, there's
Well, they can-
funding that's in your, within
Yeah,
your.
if you've got $50,000-$60,000. Is that around the price tag now?
I just got one done last year. It was like 30,000.
30?
Bay restoration.
Yes, I mean, I think that's a fund set aside that's paid into, so I wouldn't think that's in jeopardy, but
That's
I would
vital.
imagine anything is.
There's no such thing in state government as a fund set aside.
Correct.
Commissioners, Mark Wallace, County Administrator, the thing about monies available is the money that you're talking about for the plant upgrades or even at the residential level, that's paid for through the BRF, which is the Bay Restoration Fund. Every resident in Calvert County pays that. You either pay it because you're part of the water sewer bill, you pay it on your bill, or if you don't have public water and sewer, it's paid on your taxes all at one time at the end of the year. That money, if you qualify, is dealt at as a grant. It's not impacted at the federal level, so that money, you've already paid into that fund, you're getting back your own money. For JR, the question about where are we ENR, at the time, I think there were 67 direct discharge plants to the bay. they started working on the worst ones. So the first one and only one that they've done so far in Calvert County is the Chesapeake Beach plant. And then, Solomon's is next, and we'll work down the line. But that money, I believe, should be available because we continue to pay into it every year.
Well, I know when they started, they did all the big ones first. But I thought as they had worked down the list and there became more and more, that the money became less and less. And so,
It could be. Like I said, the MDS grants that we apply for each year, but as usual, they're not necessarily guaranteed. And some aren't necessarily free grants, some of them are low-interest loans.
but to Commissioner Hart's question, doesn't matter if there's cost share available. If it says you have to have one, you're gonna have to have one.
Correct.
So is the Bay Restoration Fund self-sustainable?
Is the Bay Restoration Fund self-sustainable? I think it's the degree of new technologies and the cost of that technology. I think that they can outpace the
That's what I'm
revenue
asking
source
with-
depending on how
With the
far,
changes, right.
how fast the state pushes you and the changes that they make, they could easily outpace the money that you're paying in. The Bay Restoration fee has been $15 a quarter for the last 20 years, I believe. I don't
Since
know
it
that it's ever
started.
gone up,
It's
so.
never been raised, so costs are gonna
Right, that's what I'm asking, yeah.
Right, so there
outpace.
could be a future raise to that fee, and that's the only way that you would be able to keep up with it.
And I think, haven't they reduced the cost shares in those programs?
Yes.
So-
And does all that money stay here within Calvert County that is raised in Calvert County, or does that go to the state and then divvied out?
It goes to the state, sir, and then they decide how they're
You
gonna,
know where that goes.
Yes.
so I,
So
I,
that
That's where I was
that
going
answered
on
the
that
question.
fund, because I know that
Because
fund
our
runs out of
funding-
money. So if you got a problem and you are past the time, man, you're in trouble. And then if it does happen in the middle of it, some of that funding's already gone.
Well, they started out, they paid for half, didn't they? Now they're down to 10% or something.
Well, plus prices is going up and.
Yeah.
Plus, they never covered the drain field. So they would,
No,
they
it's
would do,
tank on-
and
tank
which you're
on
always, that's a 1 and a 2. So, I mean, it's
So-
crazy.
Commissioners, the funding that was provided, and it went up because Ms. Russell actually stated that she got $22,000 for the grant. It used to be $20,000 per grant. You didn't get any more, you didn't get less, you got that. But I believe quite some time ago, it was kind of a 5-tier process, meaning if you were within the 100-foot buffer, you almost always got the grant. If you're within the 1,000 feet, you were in the second tier. And you had to have a failing system. So the farther you got away from the water, the less your points were for you to get that grant funding. But I think at some point, they're going to have to add money to the fee to pay for it, because the cost of everything has gone up. It's been the same price, and they're giving it away mainly to the plants and not to the public as much.
Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
Don't leave, just, back away slowly.
Public facilities refers to allocating resources to maintain and improve the county's cultural and recreational spaces and government buildings. There is a reduction. Calvert Marine Museum had a fair number of projects when we presented the staff recommended budget. This is prioritizing the top couple of projects for them. Same thing for Parks and Recreation. Additionally, we have our Board of Education projects. When we do the commissioners' recommended budgets, we do have the IAC's 90% recommendations. Obviously, that's not final until the governor signs the budget bill, but so these will be based on the 90% IAC recommendations. Community resources in this context refers to allocating resources to enhance equipment and programs that directly serve the public. Primary focus of this slide is public safety equipment, and then software systems for public services to improve efficiency. That's our finance and budgeting reporting software. So our ambulances, the FMV LifePak 35, as well as career EMS.
And just so the public knows, we don't just replace equipment because it reaches a certain age.
Correct.
There's a committee established that will review that piece of equipment and sometimes extend the life. Sometimes will shorten the life depending on usage. We have issues with ambulances where they're getting overused and they don't live out their life expectancy. But we do have, most of the major fire equipment does last longer than its life cycle.
Correct.
projected.
Company 1 and Company 10's apparatus that are on here, those were both reviewed by the committee. The Career EMS does not go through that same committee review, but John Sypa did review them with these same
They
criteria.
go through a county review.
Correct.
So, just so the public knows, we're just not replacing, because it's
To
3 years
replace,
old.
right.
Yeah.
Correct. These recommendations reflect a $15.1 million or 16.8% reduction in the FY 2026 staff recommended capital budget. The staff recommended capital budget had a $13.7 million transfer from the general fund for PAYGO funding. So this reduction exceeds that amount in case the commissioners would like to minimize PAYGO funding for capital projects as we did in fiscal year 2025. If all suggestions remain as presented, this would put the debt appropriation at approximately $4.6 million above the projected debt in the approved FY 2025 budget and should keep the debt service threshold below 9.5% of general fund revenues. We will also review the requests for recurring projects looking to average 3-year expenditures to further reduce FY 2026 costs.
Commissioners, again, before we move from this slide, it's important, I think, for me to point out that for weeks now, we've been coming before the board and explaining how tight the budget is in general. Certainly, the 6-year capital improvement plan is a big contributor to that cost. You know, we've been looking at ways to cut the budget, but I believe that, I'm going to request guidance going forward from the board on those bigger projects that we have moved out in the past. It ranges everywhere from community center buildings like the Harriet Elizabeth Brown, the new building. It could include firehouses, law enforcement buildings, park amenities. Really, everything is on the table. To move out at least another 2 years is something that strategically, I think, puts the commissioners in a better seat to make the better decisions in the future once we figure out this year and probably fiscal year 27's budget. So it's going to be extremely tight, and I'd like to provide the commissioners an update on that as we come forward, but for your adoption in May or June.
So I think that in some of those projects, there, instead of an asterisk, there should have been a W or an N,
For?
a want or a need,
Oh, for the multi-year funding?
for any of them. I mean,
Yeah, go-
we've talked paving. Director's still here, paving, I don't know, when the last time we had $10 million in paving? It's been quite a while. And, it's just one of those items where he would like to have $10 million in his paving account, but what does he really need? And then same for the entire list. I think we've talked all along,
Yes, sir.
since early on, that for big projects, if they weren't grant funded at a significant level, which is the reason why we left Northern Middle School in, we had a one-time opportunity to get some additional state funding for that project, so we kept it in line. But most of those other projects we pushed because they're significant cost. And sometimes when you look at those items on there, it's not just the project, it's the reoccurring cost that'll continue moving on, So, but some of those projects, and I'm just the only one talking right now, some of those projects need to happen. Playground equipment at Cove Point is, the playground's closed because the equipment's not safe. So that's why I say with a W and an N, I know that they'd like to have some of this stuff, but I think that we need to narrow down what's really needed and what's not, because I'm not quite as optimistic as Commissioner Hart. I think that we have to be more scrupulous.
And I agree with you. If you go back to slide 18, if we could prioritize, we have Marley Run, Flag Ponds, Breezy Point, prioritize that in a list that what's your number one need, want, and also with the museum, same thing. Do we need a building first or keep on with the security upgrade?
And I think it's a justification for us. I think it's a written justification. I need this because I need to fix Marley Run because the field's going to cave in or the parking lot's going to cave in.
So we do have that. So when we, I believe after the first Department of Public Works, when we did their presentation, we had staff rank their projects and provide justification, particularly if there was one that they were ranking of similar value. I think the exception right now is some of those infrastructure projects. I think it is hard to rank paving over stormwater maintenance. So we can certainly send something out to all of the commissioners with ththose justifications.
Because, you know, they might say, you know, it's a small project, you know, it's only $200,000, but if you look at that list, there's a lot of $200,000 projects, and after a while, you're a couple million in or 10 million in, and before you know it.
Also, how many of these projects are underway? I know some of them are. Some are.
I would have to go through and.
That would make a difference too.
Yeah, yes.
Well, and I think Commissioner Hans would agree, pre-COVID, we were on a good pace. We really had the CIP at a level we were comfortable with. We were on a good pace to what was going to get funded. COVID hit, cost of goods went through the ceiling. And so everybody pumped the brakes because you're like, these prices have to come down. I mean, it was astronomical. I mean, stuff going up 200, 300%. And you're like, this isn't real. It has to come back down. And it really hasn't. I mean, we've watched the cost of building I mean, double. The cost of what we built Prince Frederick Firehouse for, and I don't know the number off the top of my head, but
11.
And to build a building now is what, close to 30? I mean, and that wasn't that long ago. So, I mean, that's really changed the game.
Well, I've walked Marley Run, and Marley Run needs to be fixed for sure.
Without a doubt.
Most definitely. Another thing, I think we have the design for the sheriff's department still in the CIP for 26, don't we?
No, ma'am, I believe it's in 27. Give me 2
27,
seconds to look
okay.
at that page.
And as you're looking through that, I really, really, really want the sheriff's department to have a new building. They work in a sick building with mold. They work in a building where the top floor is soft, someone could fall through. It is not a good situation in a 100-year-old building. So, you know, for my 20%, I think the sheriff's department comes first over any fire departments being built.
So currently, there are no fire departments in the 6-year plan at all. They are all outside of the 6-year plan. The sheriff's office is currently, based on staff recommended budget, they have $4.3 million in FY27 and $9 million in FY28. But they are
Okay.
also requesting major detention center upgrades, and that's $85,000 in FY27 and $16.5 million in FY28. Both of those are concurrent costs.
Okay.
And the problem with both those buildings is they're so old. They are so old.
Commissioners, one of the, and it was pointed out, the asterisk on some of these indicated multi-year projects. That's something that we're paying special attention to. They did put in 14, 16 million for the detention center. We realize that's too much money at one point. It doesn't mean that it won't account for that much money, but you know, the authority be requested, but we won't pull those bonds until the years that we're actually going to do that portion of the work. So we could do the planning, we could do part of the building 1 year, but the next year would be a continuation. My concern is that if I recommend to the board that you put these projects on the program and they're all multi-year projects, once you start it, you're tied into that, and I'm trying not to tie the commissioner's hands unless we have to. And I heard what you said, Commissioner Grasso, about the sheriff's office. I walked that building. It's a horrible building. We're trying to make everything last as long as we can so that we can do it right. And hopefully that's what we set you up for.
Good.
I think we're gonna know the middle of April what the long-term outlook is. And that'll clarify some long-term decisions.
At this time, do you have any further direction for your commissioner's recommended capital budget?
So we have wants, needs, and what's already been started,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we
and a
need
priority list as well, yeah.
Okay.
But we will need a hardcore plan again. Now that these are the new costs, I don't foresee things going down. We need a realistic plan because everybody's right. I mean, the buildings are old, firehouses need to be replaced. I mean, there's serious infrastructure that, you know, if you'd had a crystal ball, you'd have built all this 20 years ago. Even the, you know, I remember Commissioner Williams saying when we bought the Smeco building, he said, you know, it's the right price at the wrong time because we didn't even have the Dominion money at the time, and you know, it just like, you know, seems like it's always raining. But I think now we know what the playing field is, and to Commissioner Hans's point, we're gonna know a lot more in April about kind of where things sit, but we do need a real hardcore plan, at least realistic plan for all these agencies out here to know, what to expect.
And for me, you know, what Commissioner Hans has requested with the wants and needs, that would really be great for me because, you know, when you look at what our fire departments on their list, you know, you don't want to make them unsafe, the public unsafe, so to know the wants and the needs would really be helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner, you'll be happy to know that a couple of directors just texted me saying they're taking a deeper look and they're already pushing back some buildings, so.
Oh, wonderful.
We appreciate that. Because, you know, we've said it in staff, if you don't, we are. And I think most directors would rather have their own hand in that pot than have us dip our hand in, but, because we don't know, you know. And you have backup material, we haven't seen that, so we're speaking from, you know, just what we saw on the screen today, which is not the big picture,
Yes, sir.
so.
For the public, we still have the web form available to make comments on the capital budget, and you can find that on the county website. And with that, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Danielle. Thank you very much.
So, Commissioners, we had prepared a motion to adopt staff's recommended CIP to take public hearing, but with this additional discussion, it sounds like we'll be coming back, so there's.
So
no
can we
need for
push the public hearing, is that gotta happen at a certain date?
Budget must be adopted by June 30th, and the adoption must follow at least 10 days after a public hearing, so 20.
We could still schedule a public hearing, at least get that, no, you gotta have what you're gonna, never mind. Thinking out loud, that's dangerous.
It sounds like the board, unless I'm mistaken, it sounds like the board is asking for additional information before you decide what CIP you take to public hearing.
So they'll be back at our next meeting, because we're not meeting next week, we're meeting the following week. So they'll be back in 2 weeks, so we'll take that up then. Thank you. So we don't need a motion now to
No, sir.
extend. That
You're
brings
going in
us,
the right direction. Get a little bit more.
making sure we're on the legal path. That brings us to public comment.
Thank you, sir. The board adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. A copy is found here to my right. Persons are welcome to address the Board of County Commissioners on any matter germane to the business of county government. Those addressing the board should not be incivil, rude, vulgar, profane, or otherwise disruptive to the conduct of the board's business. All speakers must identify themselves, and whether speaking as an individual will be allocated 2 minutes, or as the designated representative of a group will be allocated 5. Nobody has joined us online. The Ethics Commission has asked that we remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy, and lobbyists must register in advance. Anyone in the room?
My name is Bob Estes. I'm representing Friends of Hunting Creek, and, well, you opened it up to stormwater management as a facility, so you know I got to speak to it. There's some positive things happening. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Public Works is looking at upgrading the amount of rainfall we're getting to something more realistic, and that can only help to keep costs down, maybe maintenance down, maybe if something is completely broken. We know how much money there is available to repair broken stormwater management systems. It's only emergency things that get done. In talking with some of the folks, they're looking for better designs, like the design at the senior center, where they gradually bring the water down instead of just dumping it over a hill and letting it erode away, because erosion is a pollutant, as we all know. So I'm encouraged with that. And the idea is to keep the water as close to the source as possible so it can get absorbed like it once did. It's not as simple because we knock down all the trees before we build anything, it seems like. Not such a good thing. And I've also am looking into, and maybe hoping that you all will look into, a way of having a warranty or some sort of a bond to force the developers to design and have systems that can last for, just throughout 10 years, for instance. That'll save repairs, Perhaps you even tell them they have to do some of the maintenance. I don't know. These are ideas, not facts. And lastly on that, we need to do it soon because developers know that this stuff is coming just as well as anybody else, and they will try to get in under the lines. So the sooner we can get something like this done and put into the regs, put into to stop, shall we say, under-designed systems, the better. Well, in terms of Project Open Space and Rural Legacy funding, perhaps you heard that there was a push by the legislature to zero out some of those funds for 4 years. It's being fought. It's being fought by people here, by people on the Eastern Shore, all up and down the community, because that is not a good idea. I'm going to be attending a meeting to see how far they've gotten tomorrow, and perhaps if something interesting is, I'll let you all know. So, thank you for your time. Good to see you all again.
Yes, sir.
Good to see
Thank
you.
Is no more public comments, sir?
Thank you. That brings us to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Hart?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Friday, I went to Mount Harmony Elementary School. They had an event called Monument Maker, which was really cool, and that place was packed. Community really came out to support those young kids. They had an amazing school and teachers, and a lot going on this week, but that was really about it.
All right. We were surprised to see you there.
I did get the GPS to expand past Prince Frederick, so
It's shocking.
yeah, every once in a while.
Thank you. Commissioner Grossack?
Well, when I was doing my list of what I had done, I came up with the budget meeting on the 11th. It seems like it's been a busy week since I last saw you, but it's mainly been meetings and phone calls from home. Crystal Dowd, who works in public safety, she passed her National Emergency Medical Technician Certification Test, which is quite an achievement. Anne-Marie Garden's groundbreaking is this afternoon, and I ask that you keep in your prayers the family of Tim Manley. He's a 50-year-old young man who is a business owner in Calvert County, volunteer for the Anne Arundel Fire Department. He and his sister went to school with our boys, and 50 years old, died, from what I understand, pneumonia and the flu. So please keep his family in your prayers.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to shout out for the teachers out there, because there was just two mentioned out front. We got Mount Harmony up there. We really do have some wonderful educators here in the county, and I just want to shout them out for what great job they're doing with our youth. Please keep in your prayers the Gibson family who lost a loved one this week. Don't forget the farm to table breakfast this Saturday at 7 a.m. And after that, we have a car show at Huntingtown High School. Weather's supposed to be cloudy, but no rain. Thank you.
Good. We don't want those cars to melt. Commissioner Ireland?
So as Commissioner Hart was saying, Friday evening at Mount Harmony Elementary School, it was the children got to choose what woman in history they wanted to represent to create a monument for that lady. There were several park rangers there, and apparently there were no monuments at all to represent women in history. So everybody was excited. I tell you, the librarian, Melanie Sanchez, and her staff did an outstanding job putting this whole thing together. The kids actually made clay figurines to represent the person that they chose. They wrote paragraphs, and some of them even spoke on the person that they chose. But the staff did a phenomenal job putting it together, and it was packed. I mean, it was tight walking through the halls. The gym was full. The cafeteria area was full. Very nice event. Saturday evening, I presented a commissioner recognition to Quinn Lineberry for achieving his Eagle Scout at St. Anthony's Church in the Beach. In his case, it was kind of special because he's a military family. His father was a Coast Guard pilot, flies helicopters in the Coast Guard, and he even still does to this day. and he actually commutes to Elizabeth City, North Carolina weekly. Very, very nice family, very nice to talk to. They love Calvert County, so they're going to stay here and retire. But I think he worked on his Eagle Scout project in 4 or 5 different states. So he had a little challenge there, but it was a very nice ceremony. That's all I have.
Good, thank you. So I too went to Mount Harmony. It was a wonderful event. And Commissioner Cox talked about the teachers, that librarian there, she is on fire.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Whew. If I just had half her energy. But it was a great event and it was packed. And they told me, I said, boy, you got a packed house tonight. And they said, every event we have is like this. They have a great community support system there, students, parents support that school, and it certainly showed that night. And it was interesting to hear the kids got up and read their little short dissertation about why they selected a particular woman should have a monument. It was interesting listening to those kids stand up there and read their little paragraph about why. It was a great history lesson for them and a great activity, show them how government works, and it was very good. So I want to congratulate them on that effort. And we did have the public hearing on our budget last week, and I think we were all a little surprised that we didn't get any public comment. I know that's the first time that's happened since I've been here.
I can't remember a time ever.
Somebody usually calls in and has something to say, good or bad, but I don't know what that's a sign of. But anyway, you've heard me say before it's going to be a tough budget cycle. But what I will say is that there are some issues going on in the legislature in Annapolis that are going to have a tremendous impact on Calvert County's future, depending on how they turn out. So, as I said a little earlier, we'll know the middle of April. But there's some things up there that are going to determine the destiny of this county for at least a short term anyway, in the life cycle of a county. But we're all watching very closely and hope that things turn out in our favor. So we'll know something at the end of April for sure. But we certainly have our fingers crossed. We have a lot riding on some issues, and hope that that turns out well. So I think that's all I have. It was a pretty slow week for me, Commissioner Grasso, so I appreciate that. That's all I have. Is there a motion?
Yes, there is. I move that we recess to closed session pursuant to 3-305B1I to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of an appointee, employee, or official over whom the board has jurisdiction. 3, to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. And 7, to consult with the council to obtain legal advice.
Second. Thank you. I have a motion, a second, to move into executive session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right,
Thank
ladies and
you.
gentlemen, don't forget the breakfast on Saturday morning, and you won't get a better breakfast anywhere in Calvert County. That's
Oh,
it.
it's mind how things have changed.
Thanks to Ireland and Freeland. Everyone have a great day.